Hi everyone, Brittany Powers here, and this is my Module 12 case study for EDL 851. Let's look at the facts for this case. The people involved are myself, the principal, Mrs. Stevens, a teacher, and the students in Mrs. Stevens' class. What happened was, I had just conducted a formal evaluation observation. Several other observations were conducted earlier in the year, and during each one, Mrs. Stevens has struggled to engage the students and manage their classroom behavior. The students are openly disrespectful to her and uninterested in her lessons. In a post-observation conference, I make a subtle suggestion that Mrs. Stevens should try to involve the students more. Mrs. Stevens reacts defensively and dismisses my advice. I observed Mrs. Stevens one additional time, and I did not see any changes in behaviors from Mrs. Stevens or her students. I then fill out Mrs. Stevens' evaluation form and recommend that her contract not be renewed. The next afternoon, when I share this evaluation with Mrs. Stevens, she refuses to accept it, throws the interview back on the desk, and defends herself, explaining, "The observations make everyone nervous. You do not understand what it's like teaching this group of students, and I have not even received proper supervision to help support my development." She explains that she's not going to accept this evaluation, and she threatens to complain about my lack of supervision throughout the year and to even raise a legal battle if I do not back down. This all happened before the deadline for submitting teacher evaluations. The legal issues to consider are that Mrs. Stevens is threatening to take this issue to court. If she's a part of a teacher union, they may be willing to support her, and that could complicate things more. The ethical issues to consider involve the fact that I have not really given the greatest feedback to Mrs. Stevens throughout the year. I'm the sole evaluator, and I'm a bit emotional about this at this point. The students deserve a teacher that is really going to help them learn. The principal, myself, I have the responsibility to remove teachers from the classroom who are not right for the job. I have to support students in that way and remove teachers who don't support our school's vision. And last, Mrs. Stevens may be trying to bully and manipulate me into providing her with a tenured position. She's so close to receiving that, and that is likely motivating her fight. To summarize this situation in one sentence, an unskilled teacher refuses to relinquish her job after her principal failed to offer support yet decided to dismiss her. The people involved are Ms. Stevens. We know she is knowledgeable in content, doesn't teach in an engaging manner, does not manage her classroom well, is difficult to communicate with, and responds defensively to feedback. What we don't know is how long has she been teaching, has she engaged in any PL related to her needs, and does she even like her job or the kids? What we know about the principal is he conducts regular observations, doesn't offer much feedback or practical advice, and struggles to find positive qualities to affirm. What we don't know is, has he offered any advice in the past? How long has he been the principal? And does he plan classroom visits or simply just pop in as a surprise? We know that the students are not engaged and are disrespectful to Mrs. Stevens. We don't know the age group, what their perceptions are, although we have a good idea. And if they are, this is a big one, are they still achieving well academically? Are they demonstrating learning? That would be a big thing to know. And what are the parents' perceptions? What we know about the program, moving to the next rows, we know that the program has regular observations. It's probably a public school. We don't know if the teacher is a part of a mentor program or not, and what professional learning opportunities are available to the teachers at this school. Looking at the last section, we know that this is all occurring in Mrs. Stevens' classroom, that the noise level is high, engagement is low. We don't know if this is secondary or primary school, where the school is located, so like what kind of demographics are there, and what the area is like. So reviewing the information. Could the conflict, the situation, or the decision be damaging to stakeholders or the community? I believe yes. If Mrs. Stevens raises a legal battle, it could look bad on the school, negatively impact their reputation. I also believe if Ms. Stevens stays, student learning could be negatively impacted. Next, have all relevant stakeholders been consulted? Well, Mrs. Stevens is really the person who needs to be in conversations with the principal. She's the most important person, and she has been communicated with. The principal could collect perceptions data from students and parents to understand what she's like and her impact even more. And it's probably a good idea, I didn't write this down, but it's probably a good idea to go ahead and loop in my supervisor so he's aware of this complicated situation. Can I learn more? Yes. Could Miss Stevens be willing to learn? She has a bad attitude now, but is she just defensive? Does she even have a passion for this job? Is this worth investing into and struggling through this situation? And last, what is student achievement like in Mrs. Stevens' class, despite the fact that she is boring and the students don't respect her? I do believe I have enough information to make a decision, although more information could, of course, always help. The individuals and groups who have an important stake in this outcome are students, parents, Mrs. Stevens, myself, and the other teachers, because if Mrs. Stevens has a bad attitude, she's going to negatively impact the school culture. Next, I will demonstrate my ability to understand the importance of and how to evaluate, develop, and implement systems of supervision, support, and evaluation designed to promote school improvement and student success. I also will demonstrate my capacity to observe teaching in a variety of classrooms, as well as gather and analyze district policies on instructional expectations. So here are my possible options. Option 1, ignore Mrs. Stevens' performance, allow her to keep teaching. Number 2, recommend her contract not be renewed, hire a legal counselor of my own to help ensure that Mrs. Stevens does not have a strong case against me. In the meantime, I'll collect as much evidence as possible to show how unfit Mrs. Stevens is to continue teaching. Option 3, I'll ask the district for an extension on Ms. Stevens' evaluation, and I'll hold another meeting with her and apologize for my lack of support and practical suggestions so far. I will provide her with an opportunity to start fresh. I'll offer 2 to 3 recommendations and invite her to engage in a focus month of PO in which she works on these recommendations daily. I will offer to come and model example lessons, allow her to record herself teaching and review those videos with her, and I'll allow her to join me in learning walks through the school as we discuss best practices in other classrooms. I'll explain to her that I will sit and help her reflect on each one and offer that I would like to give her specific feedback once a week during the month. If she responds well and impresses me, seems teachable during this month, I will recommend that her contract be renewed. If she continues to show that she's unwilling to learn, then I'll move forward with my original decision. Option 4, again, ask for an extension from the district. Hold a meeting with Ms. Stevens apologizing for my lack of support and practical suggestions this far. Offer to let Ms. Stevens engage in a series of peer observations with my strongest teachers. Next, I'll ask her to engage in another focus month of peer coaching with one of my strongest teachers. In this month, goal setting would be required, collection and reflection of student and parent perceptions data, weekly observations for 1 month, and a post-observation meeting in which Mrs. Stevens will receive feedback after each observation. I will be involved in this process, but not present for observations as to alleviate her stress. If she responds well and impresses me, seems teachable, I will again recommend that her contract be renewed. If she's unwilling to learn, seems defensive, and not interested, then I'll move forward with my original decision. Option number 5. I will request that Mrs. Stevens be moved to another school in the district. So, evaluating the pros and cons of my actions. Let's see. Option 1, I won't have to deal with legal action, and I'll avoid further conflict about this topic specifically with Ms. Stevens, although we may have more conflict in the future. The cons would be I would fail to promote the academic success and personal well-being of each student. Option 2, the most extreme option. Ms. Stevens will likely not continue teaching, and I'll be able to find a replacement that will promote the academic success and personal well-being of each student, hopefully. The cons are that I'll face possible legal action, and dealing with Ms. Stevens could become messy in public to the community and with my internal stakeholders. It's not going to look great. Option 3, I would promote academic success, support every student and adult in their learning and development, inspire staff to pursue new creative approaches for improving schools and promoting student learning. The cons are the district may be unhappy about my extension request and may not even grant it. And also Mrs. Stevens' month of focus is going to dominate a great deal of my time if she does it with me. The last option, lots of pros. I will promote collaborative effort, promote academic success and personal well-being of adults and students, support all the students and adults' learning and development, and again, inspire staff to pursue creative approaches for improving schools and promoting student learning. Again, the cons, district may be unhappy about my extension request and may say no. Option 5, I would have an opportunity to reflect on the past experiences, learn from them, grow from them, move forward smarter and better. The cons are that other students may be negatively impacted in other schools if Ms. Stevens is just transferred somewhere else. So I'm not helping my community out. Next, I'll demonstrate my capacity to provide teaching staff with actionable feedback to support improvement, develop a system for monitoring whether supervision and evaluation strategies promote that improvement, and I'll use my understanding and capacity to undertake and implement this work within a school setting. I chose humble pie and a focus month of peer coaching, option number 4. So I'd asked for that extension, hold meeting with Ms. Stevens and apologize for my lack of support so far this year. And I would offer to let Ms. Stevens engage in a series of peer observations and a focus month of peer coaching. The steps would be asking for the extension, conducting a meeting where I apologize, stay humble, and propose the idea of a focus month of professional learning that will involve regular meetings with her, peer observations, and peer coaching. If she agrees, then I will create a schedule for the month to provide accountability and her peer coach. Next, I will provide Ms. Stevens with a perception survey and ask her to send it to all her students and families, and we'll analyze this information together when we get it back. Next, I'll set a date on the calendar for review of that perceptions data. I will then have a meeting with Ms. Stevens at the end of the month to review her progress and update her evaluation. It could stay the same, it could change drastically. What I expect to happen from this is Mrs. Stevens may be open to a second chance and do her best to improve. In this case, while it may not be my top choice, I would recommend that her contract be renewed. And I would use this as a personal learning opportunity to give more and better feedback to my staff members. B, Mrs. Stevens may continue to be hostile, defensive, and unwilling to learn. If this is the case, I would move on to my plan B, which was my option number 2. Recommend that Mrs. Stevens' contract not be renewed, hire a legal counselor to support me, and collect good evidence that would demonstrate that she's not the right fit for our school or our students. The people who need to know are my superiors, the collaborating teacher that she would be working with, Mrs. Stevens, of course, and a potential legal counselor if the situation moved to option or plan B. Can I deal with this situation independently? I believe so. However, I believe it would still be wise to consult with all the stakeholders that I mentioned here. Just to be safe, prepared, and forthcoming, it's better to tell them early than when it's in crunch